Here's Matt Hobbs. Coach, great to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm not 100% sure I deserve that intro.
Wow.
Well, he said a moment ago you were literally one of the most interesting people in the world, period. He didn't even he didn't even apply baseball. He just said period.
Listen, I'm going to be honest. I thought we were going to lose you to Dos Equis when they changed their guy. I thought you were going to be the most interesting guy in the world. I'm glad you're still here.
No, not my favorite drink.
You've been built up.
Maybe that's why I'm still here.
All right, so here you are. It's a little bit different with the SEC tournament this year. I don't think you're leaving, correct me if I'm wrong, until later this afternoon. So they'll have played 2 days there, and you guys are still at home. Maybe a little bit different approach or at least a challenge in going into the SEC tournament this week, having to play a max of 3 games, right?
Yeah, it's weird, honestly. I was in my office watching some SEC baseball games yesterday, and I've watched SEC tournament games in my office before. I've just usually been really pissed off because it means that I lost early, or that we lost early. So it's just different. It's honestly, and the 3-game setup is good for us because we can just play like a regular, just a regular weekend. And that's why being a top 4 is so important. And that win we got against Tennessee on Friday night became a huge win for us getting to the top 4. And then obviously closing it out to get to the 2 seed was a big deal too. So just really being able to, play it straight and, just 3 games in a row against, 3 different teams. So it works out good for us. Hopefully we go down there and play well.
Matt, you had the stretch at the end, weekend after weekend, the teams you were playing. You've got a 2 or 3 day period right now where you're on the practice field, but do you, in a sense, take a breath, so to speak, before you go to Hoover, knowing that the postseason's here now?
I think you kind of have to. You could really just beat your team into the ground after, especially what these guys have been through the last, and really you go back the last 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And, save for A&M kind of stumbling a little bit down the stretch, you have 5 of the 6 teams that you play that are legitimate Omaha caliber national championship contending type teams. And that's not an easy stretch for anyone to go through. And they had to play us too. I mean, I think we're pretty good. Mm-hmm. So I felt like going into the last 3 weekends, especially because we weren't playing midweek games at that point because the Missouri State game got canceled going into Texas. It was like playing a super regional 3 weekends in a row. So you're going to have to beat a team like that. And that's what we told our teams. You're going to have to beat a team like that. It might not be that team. It might not be an SEC team, but you're going to have to beat a team like that, like a well-rounded team that's playing pretty good, that's got a lot to play for if you want to go, if you want to go to Nebraska. And it ended up working out kind of interesting. You have the 3 weekends. You win the first one, you lose the second one. So you're here with the 3rd weekend against Tennessee, and it's kind of like, you won the first game of a super, you lost the second game of a super, and here's the rubber match. And how are we going to handle that series being kind of like a de facto rubber match of a super regional if you look at like the way that we had crafted the 3 weekends and how we were talking to the team about it. So things worked out to the point where they had to win game 3. They had to win on Sunday, or I guess, the 3rd game of the series. And, that was the same thing at LSU, right? I mean, we lose the first 2 games and it's not looking great. And we're able to come back and win Sunday and salvage the series, not get swept, which is a big deal on the road in the SEC. Just do not get swept. And it put us in position to play pretty well against Tennessee. So it just really was like, the SEC by itself is a meat grinder anyway, 30 games against really good teams. But that finish, when we saw it coming, it was like, our team better be really hooked up if we're going to play well. And 6-3 against that caliber opponent, I think we can all look at and say we're okay with that.
Well, congratulations on 20 wins to you, the entire staff, obviously Coach Van Horn, all the players that have been involved with it. But the first team to win 20 SEC games in 5 of a 6-year span. It's historical. It's never happened before. And it speaks to the consistency over the years. We did get a question about this earlier, and so I'll ask you, just the 3 games that you're going to play if you continue to win down there. Do you plan to handle it like you would if you were just having another weekend series here? Is there anything different in this type of setup with maybe not – obviously you're playing for an SEC tournament title, but in terms of the big goal, the postseason, the NCAA tournament, maybe there's not a lot at stake here.
Yeah, I think that you have to go into it like you're going to try to win. You're trying to win it. Like you can't. And I've done both, honestly. Like last year with Hagan, I restricted him to 40 pitches, and that was all he was going to throw. And it's like the biggest mistake I could have made. Like you took this great competitor and told him just go get some work in, and it was just a terrible idea. And I won't do that again, honestly. Like if we're going to rest the guy, I just won't pitch him. So
interesting.
What I want these guys to do is go out and compete. Like it's really, really hard to like flip the switch from a really good competitor and just tell them like, hey, kind of just go out there and just tiptoe your way through this thing. It's like, what do they say in football? It's like, when you play not to get hurt is when you get hurt. And I think that the same things apply to baseball or really any sport. It's like when you're going out there and you're trying to just play the game, and you've been telling these guys all year, hey, it's about competing. Like, I don't want to talk out of both sides of my mouth. So I feel like our team needs to go down there and attack it. And that's what I told the pitchers yesterday was we're not going down there to just play these games. And this isn't a victory lap. Like we got to go down there and try to play well. And whoever we play might not let us, they might play better. But our job is to go down there, prepare our team and play well and, keep building momentum. I really don't want to waste the back-to-back games against Tennessee where we played, I felt like we played our asses off in both of those games. And I don't want to go down to Hoover and just kind of like, all right, now let's just take our foot off the gas. And then the next week be like, all right, well, now we got to put our foot back on the gas. Let's just play and see what happens. We'll have more to play for the following week, and we're going to play at home, it looks like. And, we're going to have an opportunity to right some wrongs in the past. But like, I really don't want to go down to Hoover and just say, let's go to the pool and take it easy.
Hey, how's Gage Wood doing as he continues to try to get back to, full 100%?
He's good. It's been, I think it's a little bit uneven when guys come back. They're either like he was against Texas or they're like he was against, LSU. There's not a whole lot of in between. And his health is good, which is the most important thing for Gage or anybody that's coming back is his health is good, which allows him to continue to train. And that's the toughest thing when you're dealing with any kind of management of an injury or managing a buildup or anything like that. And he threw a bullpen yesterday, a day ahead of his schedule because he just felt good. And for me, that was like, all right, we can now treat him like a pitcher instead of treating him like a guy that's rehabbing and coming back. So that gives me a pretty good feel for, hopefully this means Gage is kind of past all of the build-up stuff and you're going to have peaks and valleys when you do those things. It's not clean usually. Usually don't get this like great build-up and this clean recovery. There's going to be some soreness. There's going to be some dead arm. There's going to be all the things that you see, all the things that nobody sees when they're building up for the season happening in real time in SEC play. Like that's what Gage was doing. And kudos to him. He just kept on competing. But like usually that's happening in the Fowler, in January. That nobody sees that. Nobody sees up and down outings. Nobody sees velocity down a mile an hour. Nobody gets to see that stuff because we're practicing when that's happening for the vast majority of our pitchers. But when that's happening in real time, it's like everybody's got an opinion on what's going on with Gage, and they should. Like it's part of the deal, but. I think that he's handled it really well, and hopefully we're to the point where he's just pitching. The goal was by Tennessee he just pitches, and then he had an abbreviated start against LSU because frankly he just wasn't pitching that good, and then that set us back about 8 days in terms of just like getting into his pitch count. So after last weekend against Tennessee when he had to go manage a really good lineup and throw a bunch of pitches and felt good enough to throw a bullpen a day early yesterday, I feel like we can kind of just take the reins off and let Gage go be Gage.
Hey, I want to ask one more question about your personnel with Coyle back and with Dietz back. Now, how do you How do you utilize them moving forward, going into the postseason?
Well, with Parker, I think that you got to use him when it matters, right? He's a guy that you got to pitch when there's leverage, and we've done that back-to-back weekends with him. Got the last couple outs at LSU, and then threw a big spot against Tennessee, and just dumping him right back into the leverage is like what we felt like we needed to do with him. We needed another left-handed arm in the pen outside of Gibbler. We weren't getting a whole lot out of those guys, and putting Cheese in the bullpen is helping out too.
Mm-hmm. So.
With Dietz, though, it's really the second appearance was the other day against Tennessee, and it wasn't great, obviously, but it's a really good arm, and I would say you got to bring him along slowly, but we don't have that luxury right now, so he's going to have to go out and pitch, and I think that we'll hopefully get him into some good spots down in Hoover to get him back on track after he had a really good outing at LSU in terms of his stuff, and then he had a not so good outing against Tennessee in terms of his stuff. So it's just like a little bit of a roller coaster when you're, again, kind of like Gage. It's like these things are happening in real time, and usually there's like a 5-week buildup that these guys all get to go through. So I hope that we can get more out of. I would like to get a lot more out of Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
So, I feel like he's got a super high ceiling, and I'd like to get more out of him. And frankly, he needs to give us more. And I know he wants to do more. So I think that that kid could be a big time difference maker. But really, as far as solidifying the bullpen, Parker Coyle is head on a pillow, feeling great about putting him in. You're getting strikes. You got 3 pitches. Options to how you want to attack hitters. There's not any kind of pattern he has to fall into. It's just a really I think that's a big one to get back.
Matt Hobbs, Arkansas pitching coach. You said something earlier, that kind of speaks to how difficult the challenge is of playing in this league, playing in this tournament this weekend. We want to go down there and play really well. Somebody might keep us from doing that. They might play better than us. As an outsider, as fans, we look at it, we go, man, you wish you had 3 starting pitchers that were giving you 6-7 innings an outing. And maybe as a fan, you worry about that a little bit. But on the other hand, I look at all the guys that you can go to and that you bring out of the pen. And we just talked about how many wins you've had this year, and 6 out of 9 in 3 really tough series. And you're obviously figuring it out. Is there a right or wrong way here? Or do you just feel like, hey, we have enough and we've just got to figure it out depending on how it goes?
Yeah, I will, and you guys can ask all the experts out there for the list of the team with the best 3, the 3 starters that are consistent every weekend in college baseball.
Well, yeah, Bo was saying 6 or 7 innings from 3, and I'm thinking that team goes 30-0. I mean, if you got 3 starters going 6 or 7 innings, you never lose.
But it is the conversation.
No, you're right, though.
It's
no,
what
you're
comes
right.
up.
I would love for the list. I'm waiting. I think Iowa's got 3 guys that have gone all 3 games every weekend, and that might be it.
It's
college baseball.
Great perspective. Yeah.
But this is college baseball, and I think when we went down to LSU and we saw those first 2 guys, I was like, God, man, these guys are really good. These 2 starters are great, and they didn't have anyone to start in the 3rd game. It's that's everywhere. Mm-hmm. That's not the University of Arkansas's problem. Our job is to manage the game and figure out what we need to do. What's the best thing that we can do to be able to put ourselves in position to win a baseball game? And I feel like we've got 2 really good starters in terms of Zach Root, who's an all-SEC first-team pitcher, and Gage Wood, who probably would have been had he been healthy. Those are 2 really good starters. And that's more than most have. If you look around, what's playing in this tournament right now, it's just it's 1.5 starters and a spot starter for 99% of the teams.
That's right.
And the rest of it you cobble together, and you hope you can get that 3rd start. You hope like hell you can have a 3rd starter that can go out and throw 5 or 6 innings. But look around the league. This isn't something that everybody else has and we don't.
Yeah.
This is
that's what happens. We tend to focus on as a fan, your team. And it's you don't really realize what everybody else has too. But you guys have done it and figured it out.
Right. And our job is to, if we can get 3 or 4 innings out of Aiden Jimenez at the front of the game, maybe that's what we do. Or we go back to Cheese and we just say, hey, let's go out and give us 3, 4, 5 innings. And maybe he gets hot and gives us 6. And in that situation, maybe he gets hot for 3 weeks and he's like a guy again. And all these things can happen. our job is to make sure that we've got enough in the middle, right? Like Cole Gibbler, like 3 1/3. You just do 60 pitches. Will McIntyre just went 3 2/3, and like these are big chunks of innings that guys are able to throw. And like in my opinion, like the middle of the game, when you get to the third game of a series or the second game of a series or whatever, that's winning time, right? Like that's how you win baseball games, is you can just hold them down. Like we were facing who I think is probably the best pitcher in the country on Friday, and we were hooking it up with Cole Gibbler was matching him 0 for 0, and we were hitting him. So it's like we were scoring and Cole was throwing zeros. And if you'd gone into the game and said, you know, what has to happen for us to win this game? Well, certainly Aiden Jimenez, who we're spot starting, has to throw 7 shutout to beat that guy. But that's not what happened, right? That's not what happened.
Yeah.
And if you can't score, yeah, you definitely need, like, you got to throw shutouts. But, I mean, the University of Arkansas can hit.
Yeah.
And that can make up for some of, like, if we have a deficiency on the mound or we got a hole somewhere, like, you can plug it with Vahiva Aloy and Kuhio and Charles and Brent and all these guys that can just absolutely mash. And that helps our team. And, like, it is a team at the end of the day. Like, I know I'm the pitching coach. You're asking me about pitching questions, which is what you should be doing.
Yeah.
But this is a team that is going to pick each other up and going to be able to help each other when things aren't going well. If they can't score, we've got to throw zeros. If we're struggling to get to 0, then they got to score runs. And ultimately, like, we got to do both those things, and we got to do what every, Coach Van Horn team does, is play elite defense. And I like where we're at currently. Like, would I love to have, like, a guy that could go 7 innings on game 3 or game 2 or of course. Like, I'd be an idiot to say. I'd be drinking too much of that Dos Equis we were talking about earlier to say that didn't matter. But, like, it's there's still ways to do it if you have enough depth and good pitching. And I feel like when I look at the list of guys that we have available to us, I feel like, hey, there's some guys in here that can really do this. And you guys have been around college sports and baseball at a high enough level to know that this is the time of year when somebody has to do something they've not been doing all season for you to continue to play. Like, somebody's got to do something they haven't been doing.
There's always one guy. There's always one guy that emerges. Yeah.
Always. Every time. Like 2022 Will McIntyre out of nowhere, and he starts the championship game of a super regional and wins it. Like, these things happen. And, I feel like our team is getting some of those performances, like Cole Gibbler, 62 pitches against the best, again, like I said, the best guy in the country, and he hooked it up with him, and we won. And Will McIntyre, seldomly used, even though he's having a good season, and he goes 11 up, 11 down to clinch a big-time win for the Hogs in Game 3. It's like, maybe it's history repeating itself. Who knows? Like, I don't know, but, like, that's going to have to happen if we want to keep playing, and we want to go deep into the postseason, and we want to, like I said, right some wrongs from the past. Like, guys have to step up.
Yeah,
we have to get Christian Faust to throw 2 innings at the end of the game. Like, you got to have stuff like that happen. So I'm excited about watching stuff like that happen.
We're excited to watch too. It's less nerve-wracking watching than it is coaching, but that's a great insight right there. And thanks for hopping on. I think we love having you on, the other coaches on. We learn a lot. Appreciate the time, Matt. Have a safe trip down to Hoover later today, and good luck to you guys.